judging of ideas by themselves, their names being quite laid aside, be the best and surest way to clear and distinct knowledge. Yet, through the prevailing custom of using sounds for ideas, I think it is very seldom practiced. Everyone may observe how common it is for names to be made use of instead of the ideas themselves, even when men think and reason within their own breasts, especially if the ideas be very complex and made up of a great collection of simple ones. This makes the consideration of words and propositions so necessary a part of the treatise of knowledge that it is very hard to speak intelligibly of the one without explaining the other.
I had 5 spaceships, each tested again and again, right down to its tiniest rivet, started for the moon and ended up in hell. I lit the last cigarette I would ever smoke and took my air suit out of the compartment under the control board. The 2-man cubicle was coffin cold, even under the blast of sunlight pouring through the forward port, and the air smelled of stale tobacco and machine oil. Beside me, Charlie Costa's voice droned into the communicator, winging back 230,000 miles to the listening millions of Earth. "Our air is nearly gone," Charlie said. "We have about 12 minutes left for deceleration, but we'll never make landing. The Luna 5 is riddled like a sieve, spewing out heavy water fuel along with her air. It's a miracle that a chunk hasn't crashed through our fuel pile or the communicator, or through us. That's what blew up the first 4 ships, we now know. If men ever reach the moon, they'll first have to develop some sort of armor that will turn this barrage of meteoric dust."
All the knowledge we have, being only of particular or general truths, it is evident that whatever may be done in the former of these, the latter, which is that which with reason is most sought after, can never be well made known and is very seldom apprehended, but as conceived and expressed in words. It is not therefore out of our way in the examination of our knowledge to inquire into the truth and certainty of universal propositions. But that we may not be misled in this case by that which is the danger everywhere, I mean, by the doubtfulness of terms, it is fit to observe that certainty is twofold: certainty of truth and certainty of knowledge.
I got my feet into the plastoid suit and pulled it on, letting the transparent headpiece dangle over one shoulder like a parka hood. Charlie watched me with his tight grin, waiting through the 3-second lag of time for Earth's answer. Some high-ranking general down there had pushed aside the Moon Foundation scientists to make himself heard. His voice came over the hiss of static with a tinny, frantic ring. "Meteoric dust couldn't possibly pierce that alloy hull. It was tested over and over." We waited him out, knowing that his frenzy was not for us nor for the success of spaceflight. He was concerned, like all the military, only with the establishing of a moon base to overlook Earth, and all commanding launching sites that would control a world. Once that base was established, the ferment of war would come to a bitter end. One nation would own the planet.
Certainty of truth is when words are so put together in propositions as exactly to express the agreement or disagreement of the ideas they stand for, as really it is. Certainty of knowledge is to perceive the agreement or disagreement of ideas as expressed in any proposition, This we usually call knowing or being certain of the truth of any proposition. Now, because we cannot be certain of the truth of any general proposition unless we know the precise bounds and extent of the species its terms stand for, it is necessary we should know the essence of each species, which is that which constitutes and bounds it.
"But you didn't test the hull out here," Charlie said patiently when the general had finished. "You can't imagine the speed of these particles. We've no protecting atmosphere to vaporize them, as Earth has, and they streak through the ship so fast that they seem to strike both sides of the hull at once. I'm cutting you over to Leonard Nugent now. Ready, Len?" It was what I was waiting for. I had looked forward to this moment every day of the 9 years I had spent being groomed for the flight, and for half a lifetime of drilling before that. The waiting was almost over. "I'm ready," I said, and took the microphone. "But there's not much point in reporting further, is there? With her fuel leaks, the Luna 5 will go like an A-bomb the instant we try to use the landing jets, just as the first 4 Lunas did. The air is getting thinner, so thin that I'll have to put on my pressure suit soon. Are there any questions?"
This, in all simple ideas and modes, is not hard to do. For in these, the real and nominal essence being the same, or which is all one, the abstract idea which the general term stands for being the sole essence and boundary that is or can be supposed of the species, there can be no doubt how far the species extends, or what things are comprehended under each term, which, it is evident, are all that have an exact conformity with the idea it stands for, and no other. But in substances wherein a real essence, distinct from the nominal, is supposed to constitute, determine, and bound the species, the extent of the general word is very uncertain, because, not knowing this real essence, we cannot know what is or what is not of that species, and consequently, what may or may not with certainty be affirmed of it. And thus, speaking of a man, or gold, or any other species of natural substances, as supposed constituted by a precise and real essence, which nature regularly imparts to every individual of that kind, whereby it is made to be of that species, we cannot be certain of the truth of any affirmation or negation made of it.
My only answer was the grind and roar of static. I could guess why. They were bickering and quarreling among themselves down there, the military men snarling at the scientists, and the scientists snarling back, each blaming the other for this new failure. The loss of the first 4 ships had been a mystery until they sent the Luna 5 out with co-pilots, equipped for full two-way communication. Charlie and I had reported from the beginning of the flight in alternate 30-minute relays, keeping the Foundation posted so that if anything threatened us, they would know the nature of the danger. Now they were getting what they had asked for, and the problem would keep them busy for another 10 or 15 years while the conquest of space marked time. But they couldn't accept even temporary defeat calmly, of course. They had to quarrel among themselves, just as men have quarreled since they first climbed down out of their trees and set about organizing the business of killing each other. "We're going to try for a landing anyway," I said into the microphone. "We're going to cut in the decelerator jets as soon as we pass out of the sun glare and into the moon's penumbra.